If you want to learn how to make Ghibli-style textures in Substance Painter, the latest course from the 3D coloring book was made for you. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to consider getting the course. Now let's get into this week's video.
Hello everyone, my name is Sandra and I'm finishing my studies in animation and 3D modeling, and today I'm going to show you how to make my last VFX, Ice Attack, in Unity. Before I start, I would like to tell you about the Mixamo website, which is where the model shown in the tutorial comes from. Mixamo is a free online service for automatically rigging and animating 3D characters. Mixamo allows users to upload FBX, OBJ, or zip files, and then the website automatically rigs the character. Mixamo also features a large library of pre-made characters and animation packs. This is the effect that I'm going to show you today, but before we can start to do it, we have to make a shader. For this, we are going to create a folder called shader, and we're going to create an unlit graph and call it particles additive. First, we're gonna set surface to transparent and blend to additive, also activate two-side. Then we're going to create a node called Sample Texture 2D and a property called Mine Texture, and we're going to link it to Sample Texture 2D. Then we are going to create a property, which is the color that the particle will have, and we're going to link it to a multiply node with the Sample Texture 2D. Then we're going to create a vertex color node and a multiply node, and we're going to link the multiply and the vertex color. Then we take the output to the color, and then we create a split node and link the alpha output to the unlit master. The first step is to create the ground. For this, we are going to create an empty object, reset it, and rename it as Tutorial Ice Attack. Then we're going to create a particle system, reset it, and call it Ground. Then we're going to change the duration to 8 and the start lifetime between two constants, 4 and 7, and set the start speed to 0. Then we're going to create a new folder called Textures and import our ice texture. To create this texture, you will search on the internet for ice texture. Then you have to edit the texture in Photoshop, and with the eraser tool with an opacity around 20, go erasing until you have this result. Then you can export it, but without the background. It means that it's transparent. Then we are going to create a material with the shader we have done before. We put the texture and drag it to the particle system. I want to change the star size between 8 and 13, the star rotation to 360 and flip the rotation. Also in the render alignment, change it to local. On the emission, we need to set the rate over time to 0 and add a burst between two constants, 40 and 80. We need to change the shape to circle and change the radius to 5. I must say that these values are the ones that work for me. Each project is different. Do not be afraid to play with the values. Now I'm experimenting with colors until I find ones that I like. In the shader, we can edit the colors too and make them more brighter. We are going to change the size over lifetime, and we are going to make this curve. We can add a key by right-clicking on it. Then we are going to activate the color over lifetime, and we are going to play with the opacity so that we can get an attractive fade in and fade out. The next thing we're going to do are the eye spikes. For this we create a folder called models and we import them. I have modeled them in Maya, but you can use any other software. Now we're going to create a texture for the model. I have textured it in Substance Painter and imported the maps. Then we create a material with the universal render pipeline and drag the maps. You can see it's pretty cool. Let's create a new particle system, call it eye spikes, reset it, and change the render mode to mesh. Drag the spikes and change the render alignment to local. Set the start lifetime to 3.5 and the start speed to 0. Add the 3D star size and play with the values until you like them. In emission, we're going to set the rate over time to 0 and add a burst with 7 and 10. In shape, we change to circle with a radius of 0.93, a thickness of 0.29 and change the scale values. We're going to drag the material to the particle system and in size over lifetime we're going to put the same graph as on the ground, but we make a smoother fall off. And finally we change the rotation to 90 degrees. We duplicate the eye spikes since they are going to rotate to give a better effect to the VFX. We change some values, and in start rotation we put 330. We lower the eye spikes a little bit so they don't go above the ground level, and we change the shape values, and as a result we have these great eye spikes. Now let's add a start delay, which basically means how long it will take for our particle system to come out once the animation starts. Next, we're going to create the particles that appear when the eye spikes come out. We're going to change the duration, the start delay, set the start lifetime between 2 and 4, the start speed between 5 and 10, and the start size between 0.1 and 0.7. We are going to change the colors to blue stones. In emission, we add a burst between 30 and 50. In shape, we change the angle to 15. And set the rotation to 0. Then change the radius to 3.7. We activate velocity over lifetime. Here you have to play with the values to make the particles scatter. We also activate color over lifetime to make the particles fade in and fade out. To add more brightness to the particles, let's add this texture that I made in Photoshop. Duplicate the ground material and drag it to the particle system. Then in the shader we increase the HDR to make the particles brighter. We duplicate the particles and change some values. We are going to make that when the ice spikes come out, these particles fall to the ground. For this, we activate the gravity modifier and give values between 0.2 and 0.4. To make the particles move more randomly, we activate the noise, change the strength to 6 and the frequency and scroll speed to 0.5. Here I have changed the color to a light blue. To create the magic circle, we will create a particle system, reset it, and rename it. We will import a new texture and create a material with it, and drag it to our particle system. We change the duration to 2, the rate over time to 1, the start speed to 0, the render alignment to local, the lifetime to 2.7, the style size to 12. In my case, I changed the scale to. We change the colors and make a fade in and fade out. And finally, we activate rotation over lifetime and set it to 90. Also, I have changed some values until I'm satisfied with the result. To create the smoke, we will create a new particle system and rename it. We will import a smoke texture, create a material with it, and drag it to the particle system. We change the values to make it behave more like smoke. Add a burst between 50 and 60, duplicate it, and add some delay. We change the shape to a hemisphere. Activate velocity over lifetime. We make a fade in and fade out. Create a graph for the size over lifetime. We activate rotation over lifetime and set it between two constants, 15 and 30. Now we have to duplicate the smoke and change some values so that the smoke stays rotating in the center. we duplicate the smoke again so that it rotates around the center. Finally, we scale the smoke so that it is closer to the ground. To make the ice pieces, we are going to import some rocks, create a new particle system, and rename it Ice Pieces. It is very important to change the render mode to mesh and drag the rocks that we have previously imported. We change some values and set the start speed between 2 and 5. The start size will depend on the size of our rock. We add gravity, but not too much, something between 0.7 and 1. We will add two bursts, one between 20 and 50 and another between 20 and 60. In shape, we change to box and adjust the values to adapt it to our effect. Activate velocity over lifetime to make them rise when they appear. Drag the material we made for the ice spikes to the rocks. We will also use the same size over lifetime graph as the ice spikes. To make the ice spikes bounce with the ground, we are going to activate the collision. In addition, we have to create a plane and scale it. We deactivate it so that it's not seen, and we drag it to the collision. Also, we have to change the rotation so that they go upwards, and we change the values. The last stage we're going to do is to create a shockwave. Import the texture, create a particle system, and rename it as Shockwave. We create a material for the texture and drag it to the particle system. What we need to do is change the values and the color. the size over lifetime graph is going to be smoothly increasing. To make the effect not loop, let's disable looping. I have been making some changes to make the VFX more to my liking. And this is the final result. I hope you like it.